I mean, that's what I figured I would be doing and wasn't thinking of having to do any kind of welcome, but I mean, I got to write it and figure this out. Mildly confident I can do that without messing it up.
And what you say last time.
All right, we're probably gonna have to get started, yeah. Hi. I think he is. I don't know that he's said anything to Jim about.
I spoke to him at 456.
All right, I guess we're gonna go ahead and call to order, closing the school board meeting, June 5th. We're gonna go and start with 1.1 and do the pledge of allegiance. I'll wait, John's about to walk in.
We're rising for John.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 1.2, we'll go ahead and read the mission statement. Our mission is to graduate all students with high levels of academic and personal achievement, ready for post-secondary excellence, prepared for productive, compassionate citizenship through research-based instruction and a collaborative system of support.
Thank you, Stephen, for getting us started. I apologize for being late. 2.0, changes or deletions to the agenda. Do we have any?
Yeah. I'd like to add a discussion of the board role at graduation.
Okay. Where would you like that in the agenda?
On board action. Board information.
Sorry, under board action items or communication?
Either one.
Okay. We can put it at 7.7. Any other changes, additions to the agenda? Okay, 3.0 introductions and attendance at the previous board meeting. Would you please introduce yourselves in the audience?
Rich Driesnack.
Ashley. Jessica Wolfe.
Kate Hoffman.
John Goldberg.
Erica Mitchell.
I thank you all for being here tonight. How many did we have but online at our last meeting?
There was 12 online.
One online. Presentations is 4.0, 4.1 students of the month.
Yeah, so it looks like neither of our seniors were able to make it here tonight, but I'd still like to say some nice words about them. Thomas Nichols is our most approved senior. Angela White had to say, I really enjoy having Thomas in my class. He's a great addition to our horticulture program and showed dedicated interest in learning about plants and how to care for them. I appreciate Thomas's amazing positive can-do attitude and welcoming smile every day. Jay Gray said that Thomas was always kind to his peers and to his teaching staff, which he appreciates. A great student. And Heidi Duchateau said that Thomas is a very positive and kind student who she feels fortunate to have gotten to know this year at the Dungeons and Dragons Club. Best of luck to him after graduation. Our student of the month is Ian Vanderlip. Jay Gray said Ian is a wonderful, kind, and hardworking student who encapsulates Philly spirit. Ian is a friend to all, an outstanding student athlete, and an incredible mathematician. I've been very fortunate to have Ian in class, and I wish him the best of luck after graduation. Finally, Joe Neal said Ian is a great student to have in class. He comes to school with a positive attitude every day and produces thoughtful and high quality work. He treats everyone around him with respect and has made Pleasant Hill High School a better place with all his efforts in athletics, in the classroom and in the community.
If you pass our congratulations along to the student of the month and the most improved student of the month.
And also early that.
We certainly appreciate the work they're doing. 5.0 policy review. Jim, you're going to lead us through the 3 different policies there. 5.1, 2, and 3.
Okay, 3 policies for us to review in front of you. First one is policy JFC, which is student conduct. To start, there are the so I'll go to the next one too. The next one is JFCM, threats of violence, and the final one is policy JGE, expulsion. Start, is there questions about the 3 policies? Not have it highlight some areas within the policy. So first one, JFC student conduct, bring your attention to the second paragraph. And this really gets around the philosophical construct of the district around student conduct, but careful attention shall be given to procedures and methods whereby fairness and consistency without bias and discipline shall be assured each student. The objectives of disciplining any student must be to help the student develop positive attitudes towards self-discipline, realize their responsibility of one's actions, and maintain an effective learning environment. All staff members have responsibility for consistency in establishing and maintaining an appropriate behavioral atmosphere. The second paragraph, it's our third paragraph, there's talks about a student handbook code of conduct. We're working with Midland High School administration. We'll pull that handbook back out. It's been a number of years since it's been updated, so we've got some updates to do to it. The next one is around threats of violence, policy JFCM. And third paragraph down, students found in violation of this policy shall be subject to discipline up to and including expulsion. The superintendent or designee shall notify the parent or guardian of any student in violation of this policy and disciplinary action imposed. A referral to law enforcement shall be made for any infraction involving the student bringing, possessing, concealing, or using a weapon or destructive device as prohibited by state and federal law and board policy. The district shall enforce this policy consistently, fairly, and without bias against any student, including a student from a protected class, as defined in RS 659.850. And there are 3 items there. Principal shall determine appropriate disciplinary action, consider immediately removing from the classroom setting any student who has threatened to injure another person or severely damage district property. Number 2, placing a student in a setting where the behavior will receive immediate attention from an administrator, counselor, licensed mental health professional, or others. 3, requiring the student to be evaluated by a licensed mental health professional before allowing the student to return to the classroom setting. Page 2, I call attention to the next to the last paragraph. Principal will provide necessary information regarding threats of violence to law enforcement, child protective services, and healthcare professionals in connection with a health and safety emergency if knowledge of the information is necessary to protect the health and safety of the student or other individuals. Additionally, the principal may provide such information to other school officials, including teachers within the district or other districts of legitimate educational interests in the students, consistent with the state and federal education records laws and district policies. The last policy for review is JGE on expulsion. Top section, the students are, student may be expelled for any of the following circumstances. When a student's conduct poses a threat to the health or safety of students or employees. Number 2, when other strategies to change a student's behavior have been ineffective, except that expulsion may not be used to address truancy. Or 3, when required by law. The next section down, what ends up happening is philosophically, as if it goes to a 5th grade or lower. The expulsion, use of expulsion for discipline of a student in fifth grade or lower is limited to non-accidental conduct causing serious physical harm to a student or employee. The two, when a school administrator determines based on the administrator's observations or upon a report from an employee, the student's conduct poses a threat to the health or safety of students or employees. Or number three, when an expulsion is required by the law. The age of the student and the past pattern of behavior will be considered prior to imposing the expulsion. And no student may be expelled without a hearing unless the student's parents or the student, if 18 years of age, waive the rights to a hearing, either in writing or by failure to appear at a scheduled meeting. By waiving the right to a hearing, the student and parent agree to abide by the findings of the hearings officer. I know and capture the policies that we're actually doing.
I think, yeah, it's been a while since we've looked at and read through these policies. Yeah, it was nice to read through them and, from a couple of discussions I've had with you and emails, regarding recent events, it seems to me that the policies are being followed by the administration. And I don't see any inconsistencies with the policies from at least what I'm aware of. So it was nice to review them. Yeah, I was trying to remember what past practice has been. It's been a long time since the board has had a expulsion hearing. And I can't remember if the superintendent acted as the hearings officer and then it was just a appeal of that came to the board afterwards. I believe you remember well.
Yeah, I think they ruled to expel the student, and then there was the bill got to the board and we had the executive session and virtual side of the issue, change the resolution.
But it does look like in the policies, there's kind of a choice to be made is who the hearings official is. How something like that is handled, if it ever comes to be. And I didn't know if you had looked at that and saw it the same way. And
Yes, there'd be a decision that would be made, as far as who would serve as the hearings officer. Give the recommendation. I can certainly do that. We may be in a place with the new high school administration as far as me being there to support them, which I can still serve as the hearings officer, in that as well. Sometimes, the balance of being able to support the administrators and walking through there. I'm here to go ahead with that from their history as far as I'm going to do that.
so I guess if you ever run into that situation, you're going to consult the board and decide which way to handle something like that.
Yeah, I certainly can. My suggestion would be is that we provide a layer of opportunity there for somebody to be able to appeal to the board. In which case, if I'm supporting the high school administration in putting together materials for an expulsion, then we look at possibly having an outside person and service hiring as the hearings officer. Tim Keeley would be an example. And that would be that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's something that should probably decide ahead of time which way is the best direction to go with the policy. Unless you want to wait to tell you.
I think having some more conversation with the middle and high principals to see where they're at as far as accountability and I just don't know the history of what their experience is going through expulsion.
But that was the only thing in the policies where I saw that there was a question that I had a question anyways, whose role it was going to be and compared to the way it was in the past.
I think biggest question that would help guide in that is, does the board see themselves as that's kind of that last appeal? So have that layer in there that somebody would have something to appeal to, which is similar to something we've done in the past. And if that's the case, then we'll always build in that layer. So they're. We'll have a hearings officer, do the hearing, make a judgment, and then if this needs to be appealed, then we'll ask the bill to come to the board.
That seemed to work well in the past. It has been quite some time.
And it's a pretty rare occurrence. Doesn't come up very often.
All right. Does anyone have any further discussion on any of those? Policy. No. All right, 6.0, public forum. Individuals who are on site. During this portion of the board meeting, members of the public are specifically invited to present items of commendation and or concerns. At the discretion of the board chair, further public participation may be allowed at the time specific agenda items are under consideration by the board. Individuals who are viewing online, PHSD posts the upcoming agenda on our website, www.pleasanthill.k12.or.us, the Friday before regularly scheduled Monday school board meetings. This will allow for public comment prior to the board meeting. Please click on the tab provided to share your comment for the school board to consider at the upcoming meeting. Personnel matters may not be discussed in public at a school board meeting. Members of the public who have personnel concerns and or commendations should share them directly with the district superintendent. Oh, public forum, do we have any comments? And have we had any online?
No.
Yes,
I have a comment, I'm actually ex-Jen. I had a conversation with Jen a couple weeks ago, and so thank you for your time. And in that conversation, I did learn that the elementary school, we have 3 boys in elementary. And it seems the elementary school has taken excellent steps for safety precautions and that first responses to threats. But it sounds like the middle school and high school have some work to do. So I'm curious, I don't know if this is the right form or not, but I'm curious what the plans are to get that up to speed or get that going. And just encouraging that because we were all a little concerned after the last couple weeks about volunteering to hear more about quarantine.
we appreciate your concern, and I know there have been discussions ongoing amongst the administrators.
Yeah, speak to that. So a number of things. One of them is stepping off what we do for standard response protocol, the SLP, which is, I love you guys. That is a common trains messaging for when there's an emergency within the buildings. So that's first and foremost, so we're thinking middle high school. Active shooter trainings, getting that online and then going again, which would be the versions of is during that district wide, just going to be without bills for staff and having our schedule, which is generally a minimum of 3 times per year. So what I've got administrators doing is getting their calendar put together for our 30 minutes monthly emergency drills, 2 earthquake drills for the year, and then at least 3 active shooter type of training. And those are done age appropriate. Beyond that, with middle and high school, and this will be part of the budget meeting tonight, which is really kind of a health-based model approach to recognizing flags of students, whether that's attendance, grades, parties, and bring those to student study teams to be able to discuss student needs and raise those concerns and find services for students.
Is that what's happening or what's going to?
I would say that there's some of that is happening right now in first discussions going into next year. We starting in October, new administration starting with us superintendent last year, and we laid some of that work. So it's coming together with a more formal plan. We can all start together at the same spot and move forward.
Got it.
Do we have any other comments? All right, then we'll move to 7.0 board action items. 7.1 approve the May 15th board meeting minutes. Everyone had a chance to look at those. Any issues?
Second.
Okay, moved in second, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. 7.2, approve enrollment report. It's the same questions, everyone had a chance to look at that. Questions on that?
It looks like our enrollment is sliding down a little bit every month. They're asking for note that.
Yeah.
So can we vote not to approve it? Our enrollment is not this way. Wasn't very good. All right.
Sounds like a motion.
I'm going to
Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. It's unanimous. 7.3, approve the personnel report exhibit 2223.126.
So this is one that will show up as far as new little format we're trying out, some sort of feedback you've got, please give it to me. But this is one that's a 2-pager, so. Recommend hiring of our new 9th grade future success and ELA teacher, Jennifer Chibbles, an Oregon professional teaching license with endorsement English language arts, pre-K-12. Is scheduled to teach 9th grade ELA and 9th grade future success programs to aim at providing skills for 9th grade students to navigate succeed in high school as well as for career and college opportunities. And members from our innovative guidance on conversations that fair track major as far as a lot of student supports, making sure students when they leave 9th grade on the 10th grade that they're on track to graduate. This position is there to help make sure that happens. The hiring process for this position included a minimum qualifications check, application review by the application review committee, and interview with a separate interview committee, and detailed reference checks. During the process has been completed, and salary benefit officer or offer has been accepted. So we're asking that you approve this personal action for the hiring. Jennifer.
We have a motion to approve the personnel report.
Second.
Okay, moved in second, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, it's unanimous.
I think
Sure.
it's really nice to have our new players come to board meeting at some point, maybe to benefit. The one that.
7.4, approve the 23-24 designation of district officers, clerks, depositories, and contract review board. Exhibit 223.127.
This is another 2-pager. So on the first side, so RS requires governing bodies to designate at the beginning of each fiscal year, individuals who have authorizations act as district officers for designate the financial institutions the district uses for the investment of funds, and review the status of those adopted by local public contract review board. The exhibit designates the following budget officer, clerks of district, custodians of funds, public contract roles, grant officer, and depository funds. On page 2, then the budget officer, so designate superintendent and budget officer of the Pleasant School District for the fiscal year 23-24. Designate superintendents as chief administrative officer for the fiscal year 23-24. Designate business manager for the fiscal 23-24 year, Sherry. And it be resolved that adequate insurance coverage be obtained from the above named clerk and deputy clerk. Is designate the superintendent and or the business manager as local agency representatives and authorize them to execute and file applications for and on behalf of the district and otherwise act as district representatives in all activities related to grants for the fiscal year 23-24. Designate the board of directors as its own contract review board, granted authority under ORS 279A.060, and also adopts the current Oregon Attorney General's model public contracts manual stipulated by ORS 279A and 279B, 279C, OER 137, Division 46, 47, 48, and 49. And then designate the following depositories are hereby approved as official depositories of Pleasant School District for the 23-24 school year. Banner Bank and the local government investment pool. And be resolved with superintendent or the business manager as custodian of funds are authorized to establish accounts and issue checks against such accounts bearing the original signature of the superintendent or business manager in accordance with ORS 328-411 and 328-405. Recommended that the board of directors approve the exhibits designated district officers, clerks, and agents, including depositories for the district funds as listed on the attached document for the 2024 fiscal year.
Question. I don't have an issue with any of it. Is it any different than it's ever been?
Right, then we would need a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved in second, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, 7.5, 23-24, property and liability insurance, workers' compensation insurance. Section 1.5 benefits. Exhibit 223.118. 2223.128.
And this one page, so property and casualty insurance, designated property and casualty coverage for education, PACE, as the district's liability insurance carrier, designated Bowen Williams, Way Insurance as the agent of record. Workers' compensation insurance, designated Safe Corporation as the district workers' compensation carrier. Workers section 125 benefits claim carrier, designated American Fidelity Securities as a section 125 administrator. It's recommended the board of directors approve the exhibit designated district property and liability insurance carrier, insurance agent of record, workers' compensation carrier, workers' benefits claim carrier, 2024 fiscal year.
Question, because I was never asked. Is PACE just who does education insurance? Okay,
But there's a number of different agents.
well, I assume there was, and so this is somebody we have done business with previously.
Been PACE forever. Are there any other insurance companies out there for schools?
No, but WHA is who we work. through.
They're the broker,
So
yeah.
they pick up brokers, but PACEs.
PACE is always the,
And they're directly connected to those games.
right, then we need a motion.
I'll move you approve.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, 7.6. Approve the 23-24 designation of district legal counsel and municipal auditor. Exhibit 2223.129.
It's listed 2 pages, so RS requires governing bodies to designate at the end of each fiscal year the individual firms who will have authorization to act as district's legal counsel and auditors. So on page 2, legal counsels, it's neither under the law firm as legal counsel for general counsel, labor relations, and special education services for fiscal year 2024. Designate the Oregon School Board Association policy and legal services for the fiscal year 2024. And as the municipal auditor, designate Acuity for the fiscal year 23-24. It's recommended that the board of directors approve the exhibit designated district legal counsel and municipal auditor for the 2024 fiscal year.
Yeah. You know, you keep on, we sort of mumble through all these, yes, mumble, yes, but they're really important. You know, we obviously have to have legal counsel, we have to have a partner. Don't want to bore everybody with them, but it's really important. So I move to approve the definition of legal counsel and auditor.
Second.
second, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed. Right, 7.7. Golden,
Yes. We have no policy, obviously, about the board role in graduation, and we don't have any kind of written practice either. But nonetheless, the board has shepherded these kids from kindergarten through senior and high school. And it is pretty typical statewide that the board has a role in graduation. And the first graduation I attended here was in 1988. And at that point, all 5 board members were on the stage with the graduates. And we all shook hands with all the graduates. And that seemed pretty nice and pretty normal. And but over the years, that has sort of faded away and faded away. For various reasons, there wasn't room on the stage for all 5 board members. So for a while, we had the board chair and vice chair. And then there wasn't room for anybody but the board chair. So, all right. And then, well, there wasn't really time for the board chair to say anything. Okay. And then all of a sudden, there was no room on the stage for the board chair either. So our role got more and more diminished. And it's not that anyone of us is important. We're obviously not. But as a board, we do represent the community. And I feel pretty strongly we ought to be representing graduation in some way. So, it's a practice, not a policy of the school. But I think we should reinstate. I'd like to see our practice reinstated. Need some kind of a role for the board of graduation. You know, for a while we had the board chair give the welcome. So that was, you know, really simple but very nice. First person to speak, love and all people the graduation to the graduation ceremony. So that could be done. And kind of leave it open to discussion for the board members, see what you think. But I, you know, we do care about these kids. It's nice to demonstrate that we do.
I have zero recollection whether the board was at my graduation or not. That was like 6 or 7 years ago. It certainly seems odd to not have board representation at a graduation. Seems strange.
I think that the more, the discussion is more about what that looks like as opposed to whether or not somebody's involved. Representative of the board is up there. It's more like what is
Not
involved.
at this point, right?
Well, yeah, well, I mean, somebody's going to be there, but are they just sitting off to the side? Are they shaking hands? Are they welcoming everybody?
yeah, I don't recall any more than one board member ever being involved on the stage, so. Anytime you're going back, you know, that's at least 16 years ago. And,
Time going back 35.
okay. It's a while back.
Yes, it is.
And, you know, years ago as chair, I did the welcome speech, except that it really wasn't the first person to speak. It was the superintendent got up and welcomed the audience, and as chair got up and re-welcomed the audience, and it was a awkward position at least. And then there was really no role other than to sit there on the stage. So I didn't care for the role of the chair at that time.
Well, I recall, you know, trying to go back and think who did what when. I know when I was chair the first time. I don't remember if I said anything, but I know I shook everybody's hand. And I think the second time I was chair. I think I gave the welcome. I just think we ought to do something. Have that be a practice. I don't know how much room there is on that stage.
Well, right now, the plan is for Stephen to be on the stage. Yeah. Yeah, we gotta figure out why that didn't get included in commencement, but I get to go first to walk, like I said, so where it goes from there, I get to take us again. Steve and I can figure that out.
Well, I do want to welcome everybody. You know, Stephen, I mean, Stephen to say, on behalf of the board, really glad to be here, very proud of this 2-minute speech or 1-minute speech. And then you should release him. And the rest of the board members to be, in fact, you could introduce the board members, just saying the board members, the board members are sitting near the stage. We've done that in the past, but instead of just being up there with everybody, would go down kind of in front.
Sounds like we're gonna be short the board chair as it is.
Mhm.
Sounds like we're gonna be short the board chair as it is. I don't know if there's gonna be any other board members present.
What are we?
What day is it? Friday. The 16th or no, this week. I'll be in Texas, so we set a computer up on me. I can zoom in. I'd love to go next year, though.
Not to be here.
Okay, I'm here. Friday. I didn't know it was this Friday, but yeah, I think I am.
And I can be here. Here. So we get the board members down in front, and when you do those talking, then half the board members can say, who are sitting down here in front. I can help you with it. That's my suggestion.
I'm pretty excited. Well, I think well, I think the larger discussion is like, not just what happens this week, but moving forward. What the expectation is. I know whether it's me or not, that I'd rather not, if somebody's up there from the board, it's not ceremonial, that they're just sitting up there. Certainly not in any rush to say anything, but at least be able to shake hands.
And again, it's not about you as Steve Ham.
Right, no, I totally get it.
I know that this problem. It's not a self-aggrandized. The board agrees.
Well, and does the boards, I mean, does the chair still sign their diplomas?
Yeah.
I do my best John impression.
I like to.
I'll send you my former speeches.
Take it.
So it's probably an action item, but guess we can record it in the minutes and remember it next year.
Maybe have it for the like this, on the agenda for the upcoming year that April, May. We bring it up again. Unless we're gonna decide now what that's gonna look like moving forward. At least for the next 2 years.
Well, we do it prior to, usually, as long as we know, as far as this is what we want, we'll go right into the discussion.
Do you have any further discussion on this item?
You're gonna be aware through and you must deal with the chair and eventually. you sign up.
Super. Thought about pointing that out, but then I didn't want to influence their feedback.
Just want to be aware.
Right, so it sounds like we're kicking that down the road.
Okay. But. Yeah, I'll touch base with Jim for Friday.
At 8.0 reports and information. 8.1 is Pleasant Hill Elementary School report.
What do you think?
So I can
talk a little bit about the enrollment piece from the elementary side, well, because we're tracking that very closely, as you know. We are beginning to see families who are moving out of state or to other areas within the state seeking employment. So we're beginning to see that a little bit earlier than what we normally do this time of year. Usually we see it more for the end of June, and I'll start getting phone calls or emails, but they've begun a little bit earlier this year. And when I wrote this, there were 3 weeks of school left, and now we're down to 2 weeks, or as a little person told me today, Mrs. Stumberg, it says 9 days on the sign in the cafeteria. Oops, I'm sorry. You're right. This has been a great year at the elementary. It's been a great year because guess what? We made it through a full year with nothing related to COVID. We didn't have to worry about closures. We didn't have to worry about 6-foot office spaces. We could have family engagement nights. We got to have fun again, I think. I'm looking back there. Yeah. So it has been incredible. We held a John Pond this year. We were able to do it in the fall. We've had lots of concerts, and we have a few more to go. The Living Museum was back in full action this year. We had a great nacho feed. We're coming up on field day, and there's a couple of events that are going to happen this week courtesy of the seniors, but there's also a special event that happens at the elementary. And that last day of school, we have field day, which you are all invited to. But we also take the time to recognize our 5th graders, and we let them walk through the building one last time. And everyone cheers them on and wishes them success as they get ready for their next transition. And speaking of transitions, if you recall the integrated guidance plan that everyone worked so hard on earlier this year, one of our guidance was to work on transition planning, pre-K to K, and then 5th to 6th. Well, we have done the pre-K to K, and we added a new piece this year. I talked to you a little bit about our orientation registration night, and we did that in March. And we got some feedback. Wouldn't it be nice if we do just one new little piece? So we invited all the local area preschools in Pleasant Hill to come have lunch with us. And so our kindergartners were the hosts to the preschoolers coming and having lunch right before Labor Day. And it was well received. I can't imagine that we'll let go of that, but I know that there will be more coming, because lo and behold, wouldn't you know, ODE decided we needed a little bit more guidance. So we now have a jumpstart kindergarten toolkit that I will get my first training on in the month of July. So looking forward to that, and I'll be able to share more with you later about that. But we also transitioned our 5th graders over to the middle school, high school side of the campus as well. So the 25th, the morning of the 25th, our kids left the campus at 8:20, went over, met tour guides, toured through the building, got to see things, and then the move up team from the middle school came over, answered questions that our students generated themselves for them. And then later that evening, families were gathering at the student center for parent night as well. So that process too has begun, and I wanted to make you aware of that. How many of you know the history of Elijah Bristow? And several of you do too, I know that. Valerie Davis wrote, for those of you who don't know, she did write a little production for our 2nd grade, and they perform it every year. And you can go up and ask any 2nd grader the history of Elijah Bristow, and they will be more than happy to share that information with you. And so that has happened. I would again like to extend an invitation to you. This Thursday at 1 o'clock, our 1st grade concert will be happening in the Blue Gym. And then on June 14th at 1 o'clock, the kindergarten program will be happening, where we say congratulations to our kindergartners and welcome them in 1st grade as well. So I invite you to those 2 events. I've also listed field day again. You're more than welcome to join us for that event. Times are listed. And then I just want to take a moment, and I'm going to recognize my staff. I wish each and every one of you could be in the building daily, to see the incredible things that this staff does. They start their year building relationships with every student, with their families, and supporting each student to allow that student to reach their fullest potential. Every day, every child's success. And let me tell you, they live it, and they believe it, and they do it. So I just want to take a moment to recognize the incredible staff. Thank you.
You have any questions for Deborah? Well, thank you for your presentation, and
You're welcome.
we'd like to recognize the hard work that your staff and all the staff in Pleasant Hill does. All right, 8.2, Pleasant Hill Middle School, Pleasant Hill High School. report.
Yeah, so as we look to transition into next year, we had our student council speeches, announcements for both ASB and for our student council. So I want to announce those names with you. Ninth grade class president will be Tegan Roche. Vice president will be Sophia Knight. And secretary will be Charlotte Newman. And treasurer will be Tristan Stewart. 10th grade class president, Josie Heacock. Vice president, Caitlin Olinger, excuse me. Secretary Dahlia La Roche, and treasurer Skylar Anderson. For our 11th grade class, our president is Vetter Anderson, vice president Claire Crawford, secretary Kendall Carey, and treasurer Ruby Jackson. Our 12th grade class president, Madison Mishlensky, vice president Lily Rodriguez, and our ASB president is Emily Krause, and vice president Charlotte Keefe. So congratulations to them. They did a great job of doing delivering speeches and campaigning to take those leadership positions. Our Solar Jazz, the top jazz bands at Pleasant Hill High School, are state champions. So on May 19th, they placed first in the 3A division at the OMEA State Jazz Championships at Mount Hood Community College. And Noah Bernacki also received outstanding rhythm section player for the entire state of Oregon and all the 3A, 4A, 5A, and 6A schools. So a tremendous accomplishment for him. And then we do have a final high school concert on June 7th. The high school student center at 6 p.m. So I encourage you to come and watch them finish up the year strong. Deborah already spoke to 5th and 6th grade transition. That was a really great opportunity to get those kids into our building and begin to get around and see kind of what to expect next year. It's always that gray area that you don't really know until you get your hands on. So as much as that exposure to get the kids ready to transition and also to be engaged with the students that they're going to school with and leaders in their school. So that was really wonderful that we packed the students side through there. In terms of athletics, track and field, the track and field team competed at district track meet hosted by Sayuslaw, where the boys and girls both placed 5th. The boys had one lone state qualifier, Jackson Weller, who placed 2nd in the state in the long jump. On the girls' side, the Billies earned a number of state medals, leading the way for the Billies, who returned state champion. Dakota Highlands were here in 2nd place in the 400 meters with both a personal record and a school record. So congratulations to her. The girls 4x400 relay team, including Celeste Jones, Elliot Epperson, Isabel Hammond, and Dakota Highlands earned 4th place at the state meet. And then in the 4x100 relay, Dakota Highlands, Kobe Hampton, Celeste Jones, and Ryan Thomas placed 5th. The girls team placed 16th as a team, and the boys team placed 20th. Spending some more time really looking at our athletics as we finish up here is our program's finished really strong. The baseball team earned 3rd place In the MVC, they qualified for the OSA state playoffs, it's the number 12 seed. They were managed to upset number 5 EM Hill Carlton to advance to the quarterfinals, where they lost number 4 Brooklyn's. We had a number of Phillies earn an MVC all league honors, including Cade Richardson as first team pitcher, Hunter Allen, first team catcher, Grayson Holiday, first team infielder, Blake Richardson, first team outfielder, Alejandro Zolkowski, second team pitcher, and Cameron Griffiths, second team first base. Hayden Richardson was also voted MVC Player of the Year, and head coach Johnny Brown was voted MVC Coach of the Year. So overall, the boys finished up with a record of 17-11. As for softball, they earned the NBC League Championship and qualified for the OSA state playoffs as the number 6 seed. They beat number 11 Glide to advance to the quarterfinals, where they lost to number 3 Burns. A number of Phillies earned NBC All League honors, including Bella Black, first team pitcher, Diane Finley, first team catcher, Reagan Obi, first team infielder, Chelsea McAllister, first team first base, Kylie Campos, first team outfielder, and Carly Bloxon, second team infielder, as well as Kendall Carey, second team infielder, and Reagan Louise, second team outfielder. Head coach Steve Williams was voted NBC Coach of the Year. And Doris record was 21-6 overall. So really proud of those guys. Graduation week, it's current time. We're looking to graduate 68 students on Friday at 7 o'clock at the football stadium. We've got a handful of kiddos that we're working really intensely with these last couple of days, just to pass the finish line. But the weather's looking bright for Friday, and it's we've got a lot of excited kids ready to graduate.
Any questions for Garth?
Well, I was just, not necessarily for Garth, but just in general, I know I've mentioned this before, but just again, for the next school year to just have like a separate report from the middle school. Would be nice.
All right, thank you, Garth. Point 3, superintendent report.
So you've got an exhibit in front of you, that ends in 132, which is asking to review board calendar for 2024 school year. The proposed calendar in front of you has got a list of our charge meeting, work sessions, and regular board meetings, and then also our board and budget meetings at the end of the school year. Proposed times, the board and budget meetings at 7 o'clock, charge and work sessions beginning at 5:30. They'll begin August 14th with the board charge. Board meeting, August 29th, November 16th, and March 17th. Those 3 dates I've actually got confirmed with OSBA, and so like the equity thing that we've talked about. Otherwise, what you see as far as the board meeting schedule is really basically roll over what this current year's looks like in relation to the academic calendar. And same with the number of meetings per month. What was this to get this in front of you tonight, to be able to review it, and then we bring it back the June 20th meeting for.
So the August 29th date, you said you have locked in already with OSBA?
Yeah, August 29th, November 16th, and March 7th. But we're way ahead, so if there needs to be a change. I can work with her.
Yeah, it won't be in the country. I would like to not miss that.
Yeah, what needs to be done.
Just that week. Yeah, we'll check. I mean, I'll be back. In time for Labor Day weekend, so it's the previous weekend and that week.
By that last week of August, it would be difficult for me as well, so. That leaves two of us on that.
We look at getting something in September, since we've got the one meeting in September.
The 24th maybe. Is your meeting doing like an extra board meeting? In other words, to get that training?
We just need a work session.
Right.
The person that does the this particular equity training is a new board member as well, so we might just stay away from Monday and Tuesday of the week. I will look for public renewal September. Calendar. So if you see something between now and next week, if you send a message, I'll copy for action item on the 20th. The only other thing I have tonight is reminder, so Tuesday, July 11th, I will have a special meeting at 5:30 to swear in newly elected board members. Add that to your calendar.
I'm 5:30, you said?
For you.
Yeah, I just had it down as the regular 7 o'clock.
That's all I got.
Right? Then we will recess. And our board meeting and convene the budget meeting. We have a budget meeting chair up front. Yeah.
Just might do that. I used to be in a broken record of my day jobs.
1.0, budget committee meeting and agenda. We're called to order. 2.0, approval of minutes, approved May 15th, 2023. Budget committee meeting minutes. Exhibit 2223.133.
They totally just ran it, copies of, because it didn't happen.
Okay.
Accident. I have it.
I'll move to approve it. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3.0 budget discussion. 3.1 recommended adjustments.
Yeah, here's what I would. Wait till then for a double. Each time we get devastated.
No, wait.
Probably.
Get little minutes and correctly are on Daryl moved and John seconded.
Okay. We're on 3.1 recommended adjustments to the budget.
I don't know if it is a change needed or not, but I have one question. And it's on the student transportation. You guys had put in 12,000 this year for new amount budget. And my question was, is the 10,000 for the high, middle, and the 2 for the elementary enough to cover all curriculum based transportation for the year?
It was our estimate that it would.
Then I don't have any questions.
I think after the events of last month and looking forward to the future, the way that the world is changing, I would like to motion and consider adding $100,000 to the budget for a service, school resource officer. I'm somebody to watch over both schools. I think there's a lot of other things that they could do throughout the day to fill their time. I love that our campus is open and we don't have fences everywhere. We don't look like a jail. The community helps pay for that track and field. I like that they can come and they can use it. But the safety of our students and our staff need to be our first priority. And we need to do what we need to do. to provide safety for those kids.
Jim, you mind if I ask for your thoughts, certainly feeling the same as you do, but again,
Can we get a second first?
oh, to consider it, yeah, I'll say.
Yeah.
Thank you. Your thoughts on where resources are most effectively deployed, given that my understanding is you just reviewed some of this stuff, and of course, we had all that fun stuff happen, so I imagine somewhere a book got pulled out and looked at. To me, it's tempting to put money at something, but yeah, you want it to go somewhere effective. So do you have any observations? Are there any observations from the board on like context? Or whether that's, because that was a pretty specific line item. I understood you're saying school resource officer or mixers. Just wondering for alternative perspectives on that from the staffing side of it.
Gosh, just lots of questions that come up, but they're more. More towards probably process questions as far as what does a school resource officer mean or look like? Is that a licensed officer, in which case? What does the license look like to have jurisdiction in our community? If it is a licensed officer, is that what I saw to it's carrying a weapon? Has a patrol car, is dressed in, what was the dress look like? What is their role in combination of campus supervision, but also citing and possibly arresting students? What does that mean?
I think personally speaking, I would, instead of adding money to it, I'd much rather see a plan for it than say, let's give $100,000 to this item. I'd much rather see, how much is that FTE going to cost? Because salary and benefits be over that, and the level of requirements of the job description. And the thing that I like is you take $100,000 from something, so where are you taking it from to accommodate that? So, and if I would ever say yes to this, I would rather see a plan for it.
I did some like work on the cost today, is where I came up with that number. Talking to other school districts who have this framework all done, laid out. That's where that number came from. I understand like job description and, the questions that Jim brought up. But I also know that if there's no money, it will not happen. It will not. There are many logistics to be worked out, but if we don't provide funding for it, it's off the table for another year.
That's not necessarily the case. You can do a supplemental budget if the need your total has to be.
I guess my thought on where to go would be, I am somewhat similar to John in this particular case where I'd want to know, okay, what does that mean? Experience, local community where I grew up, the school resource officer, and keep in mind, completely different population than what we have here, but they're much more than someone who does or doesn't carry a weapon or doesn't patrol. They're very invested in the kids' lives. They're a resource to reconstruct what some sort of law enforcement looks like to certain kids. I mean, it is so much more than, can you show up and stare down an AR and not? I mean, there's so much more than that. So I'd be curious what it looked like, but for me, I guess I'm somewhat similar to John with this, where I want a little bit more information to be able to say like, yeah, I'm 100% with you, but again, conceptually, I see where you're going.
The description is for the board to decide.
So the board.
So your concern is mostly making sure there's an opportunity to look at this in the coming months, year or so, to consider this. But your concern was if we pass the budget as says, that closes that door, anything happens in the following fiscal year. And it appears to me, what I understand, that's not necessarily the case, right? There's options if the need does feel we need to fill that.
I guess I'm saying there is a need.
Right.
I think that there certainly is a provision to reconvene the budget committee anytime that we want to do that. But, I was under support of studying this issue and, we see some examples of job restrictions. Just to have, what we're, have a plan before we went to, would this should be part of the administrative team or how, all those relationships, I think we'd like to know before we invest in them. But I don't see these guys wait a whole year.
I guess my question back is, why is later better?
So flushed out, so thought through, there's a lot of steps in regards to something like this. Instead of just like what your concerns are very valid, you're very comfortable with your desires. And I'm right there with you with wanting kids safe and all that stuff, but I also wanted fully vetted, fully thought through a clear picture of what this looks like, clear understanding of the classification of the person that's going to be here, all that stuff, because this isn't just a rational decision being made right now. This is something that is a broad conversation that needs to be really thought about and played out.
There's a budget item or a line item. Is it security services where you already have something in there for training, and you have to remind me what's there?
I think you're gonna find. Some of that is security monitoring as well. And some of the video security cameras and some of the. Are you in general fund for that? I know it's gonna be function 2506, but I'm not sure.
I think it's
Yeah,
page
2.4.
Page what?
24.
Oh, you're looking at the list. Sorry. Maybe I have to go to the. Into the function to see how it's split up. So yes, there's training, repairs and maintenance, non-instructional, professional and technical, so that would be other education. And then the software,
2579.
2546,
Oh, 46. So we're talking.
security services. And that's excluding the kind of staff training that would be part of a regular training, this would be more security.
I'm super sympathetic with what you're saying for a variety of reasons, but I also hesitant only in that I don't know what it looks like either. I guess what I'm wondering, is there any way to provide a contingency amount in order to get it in the budget, but not knowing what it is yet? I'm not. I do that all the time at work. I don't know if you can do that here.
Well, the challenge would be trying to identify whether it's under services, whether it's under personnel, what the salary and benefits would be. So those would be different areas under this function.
Yeah.
So you'd have to have some specifics to figure out where to put what. But it doesn't mean it's not doable after.
As just one member of the board, I mean, I've looked into this myself a little bit, research. And what I found so far is that more recently, there's not much to show for the efficacy of the student resource officer in terms of improving student safety. Now, maybe that's because, the likelihood of an incident happening is so low, and you've got officers at schools all over the country, but my understanding is that you've got schools where they've had that for years and years, and they're just moving away from it because it doesn't seem to be an effective use of resources. I think we've seen recent instances in other parts of the country where school has had its own police force and didn't really avert what we're worried about. I mean, I've got 3 kids in the school district that totally get it. But you know, the cost benefit where you're making a significant investment there for even I don't like the idea of like Russian roulette of playing the odds with children's safety at all. But what can we do with that money that is more effective across the board? It doesn't come with other costs, because there are situations all over where it's a very positive experience, but there's other situations where that's not the case. We've got an increase of crime just because instead of admin observing misdemeanor behavior, it's now an officer who's observing it and potentially charging it. Then you get into issues of who's in charge of managing out of control behavior, whether it's a student resource officer, whether it's admin, and even if there's an agreement in place and this resource officer feels compelled to intervene just based on their own training and what that results in, I think that there needs to be some really close look by the people making these decisions, including us, about what the studies show, what the information is showing, because it seems like it would be a good idea, but I don't know that that's necessarily what the studies are showing at this point.
That's exactly why I was asking the question. I was asking, can we find a way to provide some funds to find that stuff out? How should I know whether you spend some money to figure it out? Maybe there is a way, but I don't know what it is.
Not. There's gotta be probably somewhere statistically within the database regarding shootings and where either armed security or licensed officers are present or not present. Good. It's probably kept somewhere.
Could we put together a subcommittee to study that for the board? And honestly, if others are out there. It'd be really useful to have that information, a broad spectrum of information presented to us. And look at.
And to get both employee and community feedback on that. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with setting aside money, but I want to make sure it's a tangible and thoughtful process.
Yeah, I'm definitely not suggesting we go hire somebody tomorrow, but it's something that we need to prepare for.
But the motion was to hire an officer.
No, the motion was to put a line item in so that the funding is there when we have our framework, when we have a plan, that the money is earmarked and ready to go. We don't have to start more of this.
Was that the motion?
Yes.
Okay, I guess I misheard it.
So Sherry, are you confirming that we do not need a line item in the budget for this specific thing? If we come back and as a result of it or something, committee recommendation, whatever, in order to go back then and be able to utilize the school resource officer? Or are you the one that handles it? Putting it all on you there, sorry.
I think what I would say is that depending on how the plan is to spend the funds, Then we look at the budget and see if the funds are in that area. If they aren't in that area, and if the amount is under a certain percentage, you can just add it to your budget. If it's over a certain percentage, you have to reconvene. So supplemental budget does require probably a larger change than we probably would be looking at in an instance like this, but we really have no idea what the dollars would be depending on what the plan does become. So it's, I mean, if you're saying, could we spend $100,000 in a specific area? The answer is probably yes. Very likely yes.
Shane, I bet we had to read them in the budget committee. That's not a huge undertaking.
It's not as big as the original budget to add a side. And I'm not an expert on this, but I don't think you have to have an entire budget committee. I think the board can accept.
Just board.
Yeah.
Or would be most flexible, like in the professional services.
I mean, if we were to hire a person who is employed by someone else, and we pay for that service, that would be professional service. If it becomes an employee, then it would be in salary benefits. So, if it's less than 10%. Supplemental budget will adjust fund expenditures by 10% or less. Supplemental budget may be adopted at regular scheduled meetings of the governing body.
10% of what?
Of your fund, so general fund, if
Fund
it's gonna be
itself.
100 or. Special fund is in there. There is another requirement, which is to have, you have your spending limit analysis based on function, but it's function 1,000, 2,000. And so since this would be most likely in 2,000 as a 50 issue, security issue, we probably wouldn't get into trouble meeting our limit there or not exceeding our limit.
Other comments? Item 3.2, proceed for,
We need to think about that.
sorry. First time. All those in favor of setting,
Would you read the motion again? Or somebody read the motion?
go ahead, Jen. I hope it doesn't have to be verbatim. Motion to add a budget item of $100,000 for a school resource officer. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Thank you.
3.2, receive responses to email questions submitted by budget members.
So all of the budget questions, committee questions I've received have been answered as of this afternoon, and I haven't received any additional. So if there's more clarification needed, I'll glad to try. I think we got all the answers.
Did everybody couldn't get a chance to read the emails from this afternoon? 3.3 discussion.
And a couple quick things. It's interesting to hear different perspectives. It's helpful to hear different perspectives. For example, somebody asked about, it seems like 900 grand in fund and maintenance budget. My mind was literally on the opposite. I'm thinking for all the facilities we have here, we only have 900. So it's interesting to hear those questions come in. It's helpful. Having said that, in reflecting on more of like a higher view and less specifics on line items. I do think a question or comment that was made from one of the board members earlier would be really helpful for me personally, which is. What's our, someone said 5-year, I'm not stuck on a number per se, what's a multi-year vision, where are we going, what's the state of the facilities, what's the state of protective service, everything like that. Easy for me to sit here and say. I'm sure that then turns into an email to Debbie and Garth and Caleb, wherever else, and it's like, okay, the board wants you to tell us what you need for the next 3 years, which is probably a tremendous undertaking. But nonetheless, for me personally, I find the value then in being able to reflect on this and say, are we being good stewards today? Because the needs list is probably always longer than the budget. So how do you prioritize and categorize and be able to back away from something that might be a high priority in the name of a multi-year goal that needs to be acknowledged? So I don't know where to go with that, except to say that it would be very helpful for me, since you're asking for our insights on this, to say, okay, I would really love to know where we're going, so that we know whether 900,000 is way too much by way of example, or if it's not even half of what should be in there. I don't know if anyone else felt that way.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that's, we come in not getting inside and not really knowing the process to get to where that budget is or where it's looking. So I think that was be pretty helpful. You just guidelines, something real short form, even for me. Yeah, especially if we're asked to help guide that budget or have input to know which direction it is. It's super helpful.
The response about the money for the metal shop, forestry, library, HVAC, and the roof was that not an answer to that question?
That was a specific, yeah, that specifically helped me understand that, and I didn't ask that, but I had the same question in my mind. But what isn't answered in my mind, Jennifer, is just, okay, but what else is still out there? We know about turf, we've heard about turf a couple times. We know that the wood shop, metal shop, whatever needs electrical, we able to just run stuff, that's helpful. But this, the quote, building reserve, what's that mean? What's the remaining service life on what we have, various other systems, buildings, code issues that we're trying to address year by year that ultimately need a better solution. We're adding 1 classroom. Do we really know we need 3 or 4? Sounds like enrollment dropping, well, that's bad, I guess, but these are all questions that come to my mind that just the way my brain works, I'm probably less effective admittedly at specific line items. That's harder for me. But then I'm zooming back out and saying, well, wait a minute, that doesn't mean we shouldn't have some sort of, that our families, our communities all trusting us to sit here and look at this on their behalf, right? My mind goes to, okay, so what's our long-term plan? I love the endowment question, frankly. It wasn't mine again, but I love the endowment question because the concept is you set a little side for a long enough time, and you sort of never need anybody ever again. That ultimately would be the perfect idea of endowment. That's what these Ivy League schools get to. It's just all gravy, billions of dollars of gravy. So I understand the legal hurdle there. We're taking money. So I understand and appreciate the response there, but just to give you a little bit of color, Jen, for me personally, it wasn't the specific items. It's what do I not know that's on here?
We were looking for a long range facility plan.
As part, yeah, and is there things other than facilities I'm not even thinking about? I don't know. But yeah, that's exactly.
I think there's been one, it was pre-COVID.
There's a dusty binder somewhere that is the facilities plan.
Yeah, right before COVID, we went on a tour with the previous superintendent of I mean, maybe not such a bad idea for a budget committee tour. Just thinking out loud, but we did right before COVID, like, these are things that are gonna be coming, guys. And at that point, we were getting close to busting at the seams in terms of enrollment.
Well, back before a $18 million bond, there was about a $30 million list. And yeah, all the things on the list have certainly not been addressed. I'm sure priorities have changed as things have gone away, but yeah, long range plan is something that you can't just leave in the binder and forget about. You've got to continue to look at it, and the circumstances change. Cross things off, reprioritize. That certainly hasn't been done for probably 3 or 4 years. Steven's talking about.
Being sensitive to workload again on others, is that something that would be helpful to start and then keep that as part of the process as part of whether it's prep to the budget committee each year of just, hey, here's a quick update, whether it's. Yeah, want to be careful because I'm asking for other people's time. I don't even know what to agree with that. But is that something that's worth putting in there for the future?
Possibly, there's opportunities through, the COMTAC grants where they will do long range plan. Course, I don't know if we would qualify for another one, if that was what was originally used was grants. To do that, we are doing that with seismic upgrades, and so we did get a $25,000 TAC grant. An engineer come out and has already assessed, and he'll fill out a larger, it's actually $5 million grant for seismic upgrades. Right now, the old gymnasium really stands out as a place that needs that. I think I would say this. Coming from outside into the district. The ESSER funds really they were a blessing, in the sense there was a lot of them coming into the districts. I think there's probably a lot of work done. I know there was a lot of work done around upgrading HVAC systems. There's still some additional HVAC systems that need upgraded. I think in preparing this budget document, we had any fund balance that was borrowed over the last 2 years, and wanting to be careful that we don't take a whole bunch of money and just put it into side accounts. And being mindful of the money and making sure that we are being thoughtful in how much we are spending on our facilities, and not just kind of having an open checkbook to go and spend. From my speed as far as doesn't make things really nice and comfortable versus that much larger side account, it sure does, but I think probably as well for what that looks like as far as the whole thing money. Also coming in was a middle school district and budget committee, board committee, philosophically what I've seen is very conservative in the approach to budget. So I think that balance. We're talking 20%, where Springfield and Fort J, closer to 4 to 6%.
Yeah, a lot of people have credit card debt though, Jim. Not impressive.
Laundry reserves as well. So money wise, really good space. Yeah, having those long range plans for what will come next. I think this budget does feel good to me as far as getting us in a place to be able to upgrade forestry, move our agriculture building out there, and freeze up some classrooms. Where we go with adding into those classroom spaces, we're attempting to hire health sciences to have for health applications, but we're also one of, I think, 4 other districts in the county that's trying to hire that position, which is a bit of all that for. So we've got some contingency plans around hospital hiring for the childhood pathway. Fill that spot that we're going to fill health sciences. At the same time, with the ESSER we are being mindful to spend all of that money. It's gone. Got some of that in staffing. If those staff positions leave, we can't fill them, and that's one of the ways to do it. I think that's where you see some flexibility that we're putting in the budget as well. Make sure we actually spend that money.
And I did touch on it in one of my answers about the maintenance reserve, in that we do have an informal list. We meet regularly about it. It has all of the things that we know are coming up and are prioritized. And so when we come, we have an ABCD list. So we look at the A's, how much money would it cost to do all of that? And then it's how much time do we have to do? How many you know, can we get vendors? Because that's really a difficult thing right now, to get people to even, come in and give you quotes on things. So we look at that with what we know is coming up, and then of course we have the flexibility of this just broke, and we're fixing this one now. We've got it with a B, but it broke, or it's, you know, and so we do a lot of maintenance upgrades all the time, big and small. And that whole list, we couldn't tackle very quickly, but I mean, I think our maintenance is very mindful about having an ongoing list, and we pivot as needed. And that maintenance reserve, it does a real good for us, and that there's flexibility in how we spend that.
Jamie, that was saying this we saw 4 years ago.
Probably, I mean, every year, that's what helps guide us for the maintenance reserve amount. And we've done a lot of work on making sure it's fresh, making sure we know what's in progress, what's done, getting the stuff that's done. And it's probably 150 items long. And some big, some little, you know, so, and it's like, change a window, do some asbestos, removal, abatement, and it's just, it's big and small, but they use that to fill the time in our facilities and maintenance.
Who make the decisions over what things to do first?
It's- We can be hit all at once. So the ABC list that you probably saw was just a complete throw everything on the wall and everything sticks. And then as we get time, we start to put those things off. Frustrating for me, and I think Jim itself as well, is that there's no way to be able to prioritize that. So we've come up with a system where these are the items that are working on projects currently happening, projects in the queue, and then really kind of projects that are waiting that we've got prioritized to move through. At any point in time, though, we may have something thrown at us. Fixing the water, the drinking fountain at the traffic. And we've got a one-man crew essentially that's working on getting bids, depending on the cost of it, possibly getting 3 bids, organizing the work, and then the metal shop, for instance, one of the parts is 4 weeks out. So that queue to just build and build and build. So it's a little slower. I mean, we don't have the luxury of having a team of carpenters. So we're having to find companies that will come work in a small district. And so they're generally, you know, 1 or 2 person teams to start doing that. The work is slower.
You know, in years past, we've had facility reports every quarter. That might be useful for the board to reinstate that, so we have to throw a finger on what is happening.
We've got items like replacing the doors at the old gymnasium inside and out. We start getting into that and start looking at possible lead paint abatements, redoing floors in that area as well. Yes, that's best to abatements. Those are just big projects that right now are put on hold because we're going to metal shop, library, which directly affects construction.
And our quotes get stale very quickly too. The way construction is.
It can be a great thing to have extra money to spend. Sometimes spending that much money is really difficult. Works out with months and months. And we see people just get internally exposed to projects.
That productive work.
It can be. I just want to be mindful. It's kind of reading the mission statements at each meeting as far as what drives our conversations and accountable spaces that are part of that. Where's that fall in the party as far as instruction and achievements? So, regardless, it's what they're deciding to do.
I have one more totally unrelated question that is mine. Food services, 299, page 24, is a pretty big increase, 580 something to 740 something. My first question was that, I see this, but you know this. So maybe you could briefly summarize that, and is that still up to date, given that some of those cost changes decelerated a little bit?
You know, that is a very difficult thing to budget. And the state has been changing rapidly. Like when they went to free lunches, we weren't budgeted at all for that, and they've changed who's eligible for free lunch. And so that being a special fund, you're gonna see a lot of guesses in that budget. We don't know what the sales are gonna be, we don't know what collections are gonna be, so. We did just recently go through an audit, and the expectation was that we would just budget more to be ready for change. I don't expect them to spend that much more on food. That's the hope. But sometimes the supply chain gets severely interrupted, and you pay what you have to pay.
So that 100,000 that's in there, I mean, line 450 is, that's the food, that's the, we don't know, that's the, you're trying to be conservative enough, because if you put 20,000 in there and you're off by 80. Don't have to, okay, that's helpful, thank you, Sherry.
Okay, moving on, 3.4, additional questions, plus answers. Now our third will just be we're getting close. 4.0, public comments. 4.1, read emails, questions and or comments.
No.
5.0, action items. 5.1. Your motions to approve the 23-24 proposed budgets.
The motion to approve the board. Second.
All those in favor to approve the 2023-24 proposed budget, say aye. All those opposed. Six future meeting dates. I'm assuming we don't need to meet on July 12th. Board meeting with the budget hearing and adoption, which is on a Tuesday, June 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m.
We do need to move for the taxes. It's a separate motion.
I'm just gonna read it out loud without making one. The budget committee of the Pleasant Hill School District, number 1, approve the budget for the 23-24 fiscal year in the amount of $28,557,275 for all funds, representing a general fund of $18,814,654, a special revenue fund total of $8,091,965, and a debt service fund total of $1,650,656. Read it again. I move that the budget committee of the Pleasant Hill School District approve the budget for the 23-24 fiscal year in the amount of $28,557,557. Oh my goodness. $28,557,275 for all funds. The general fund total of $18,814,654, the special revenue fund total of $8,091,965, and a debt service fund total of $1,650,656. Need a second.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Everybody. All those opposed? I also move that the budget committee approve property taxes for the 2023-2024 fiscal year at the rate of $4.6414 per $1,000 of assessed value for the permanent tax rate levy, and in the amount of $1,401,700 for the debt service levy. Need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any other business before we adjourn?
We just need to note that the budget hearing and board meeting will be Tuesday, the 20th, will be public comment. Meeting that we will put on the board.
Okay. Budget committee meeting is adjourned.
Item then the regular board meeting is reconvened. And 12.0 board communication. I would like to thank everyone for the effort they put in reading the budget. I thought the questions that were sent to Sherry were detailed and thoughtful, and I really appreciate all of you being on the budget committee, and I think it really helps in our community that more people see the budget, have some understanding of it. And I just appreciate your service. Yeah, thank you. Have any other board communication? Okay, other business. No other business? No? Then our next meeting will be the budget hearing and board meeting Tuesday, June 20th, right here at 7 p.m. in the community center. And we're adjourned.